There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tony's Fireside Chat. And today I'm really excited, super psyched up to have Marcy Reese here. A lifelong serial entrepreneur with just an amazing Hollywood story. Marcy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Tony. It's nice to be here and share with your listeners whatever I can impart.
Yeah, well, one of the things is I'm based in Canada, and I know you've got a strong Canadian connection. I'm not even sure if you're a dual citizen. But
I'm not, but I have many, many, many dear friends in Canada.
Yeah, tell us really some of your background for people that don't know you, because I was just learning myself the other day, and I was kind of doing some background search, before the interview. Tell us who you are.
Well, I grew up on an Iowa farm and mid last century. And I think that was an advantage because we were very frugal. We made or grew most everything we had. So it taught me to be creative and to think outside the box when it came to something I might want to have to play with. So early in the mid 1970s, out of a need inspired by my daughter, who was a young child, I didn't want my kids to have battery toys because I believe that a child's battery is up in their brain, and if you inspire them to use it, they do. So I didn't allow my children to have battery toys. And my daughter loved creative art. She loved art projects. And back in those days, the only chalk that was available were the little thin sticks the size of your finger, the blackboard chalk from China. I didn't know then, but I've soon learned that it was full of lead. It was dusty, dirty, it broke, it stained her clothes. It was a mess. So I decided there should be a better way to make chalk. I went to the library. I found some different thoughts on that and created my own proprietary formulation. And so in the late 70s, I brought sidewalk chalk to market. We grew it the old-fashioned way, brick and mortar. I started by doing craft fairs, and moms would ask stores where to get this product their kids love to play with. And after I had a legal pad full of store names and addresses, I went down to the Denver Merchandise Mart and started asking in different showrooms how I could turn my product, and boy, that was a loose term at that point, into something that their stores could buy. I learned so much that day, Tony, and that started my first entrepreneurial journey.
Wow, that's amazing. And tell us a little bit about that. I mean, like, were you? But let's backtrack a bit. Did you feel you were entrepreneurial even at a younger age? Like, some people are saying they were selling lemonade at the age of 12.
Well, I started working for money before I was 12 because my parents' philosophy was if you wanted something, you needed to figure out how to pay for it. So I started working very, very early. Mm-hmm. And I would say I did know I was entrepreneurial because I always chafed at the bit when I had to be inside someone else's confines. I was always a rule breaker, but not a bad one. I never got in trouble. I just, like if my parents said turn left, I would get left by going right and then turning around. I mean, I always had to do it my way, always a little headstrong. They nicknamed me Banty Rooster. And on a farm, the Banty Rooster is the one that gets in all the trouble. And I never was a bad kid. I was an excellent student, very high achieving, but I had to do things my way because I just had this innate feeling there was a different way to do it. Not better, not worse, just different. So maybe I'm one of those that feels I was born to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I always say I'm the reluctant entrepreneur, I wasn't sure I had it in me. And then I just realized it flows, and you have to go with what's really organic and natural.
Well, I think many times, Tony, I had to work 3 times as hard as those colleagues and friends of mine who took the traditional corporate path. But there was such a drive and desire in me to bring something to market that was needed and filled a need that I didn't care how hard I worked. My goal was to attain market share. And with our chalk, we ended up getting 72% global market share. which was a really big feat for a small Colorado-based company. We grew to 2 factories in Colorado and 3 in mainland China. And those were back in the days when Western women weren't really going to China yet. So that was a whole nother learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then on February 9th, 1990, I signed the papers to sell that company to the world's largest toy company. They didn't care at all about my sidewalk chalk, could have cared less. What they wanted was my distribution system, because we were selling chalk to everybody. We sold to specialty, mass, grocery, drug, convenience stores, education, military, fast food promotions. We sold chalk everywhere you could sell it.
You sold to me.
Pardon?
You sold to me as well. I was a consumer.
Good. Great.
You know what?
Probably your mother.
You know what? I was going to tell you, as we get into your history, it's just amazing. Everything that you've created or had your hand in, I probably purchased.
Good. Well, my next big product you probably may have used as well. I like to make products that fill a need. They're simple, they're affordable, but they fill a need. I don't do the real fancy high-tech stuff. I'm just a simple country girl who still sees the need and knows how to create an answer to the need. So the next product I created was the gel-filled wrist rest that went in front of your keyboard and your mouse pad. Why? Because I typed a lot and my wrist would get sore. So I decided if I could put a nice cushy gel pad there, it wouldn't be uncomfortable. I also could stick it in the freezer and chill it, which I loved on a hot summer day. So again, practical, affordable, filled a need. But I didn't really want to take that to the marketplace. It's brutal when you take a product to market then and now. And so with that product, I licensed it to Case Logic in Colorado. They were a very large manufacturer that manufactured cases back then for video discs and CDs and what were the big tapes called? 8 tracks. I can't even remember the names, it's been so long ago. But Case Logic was a leader in that field, and they licensed the gel-filled wrist rests for their company to put under their brand name.
How was that experience in terms of getting like a royalty type of thing versus being more actively involved?
Wonderful. It was wonderful. I didn't have employees. I didn't have payroll. I didn't have to worry about production. When I sold the chalk company, I sold it to a Japanese company. And that was very, very difficult for a young woman to sell to an old Japanese man. Oh, so disrespectful. He didn't want to, he never would make eye contact. He wouldn't talk to me. He wanted to know where the man in the company was. And my lawyers kept saying, there isn't one. It belongs to this lady. Oh, and so at one point, my lawyer took me out in the hall and he said, Marcia, you need to relax. You're going to kill this deal. He is never going to respect you. It's not his culture. Just go and smile and nod your head. He's got a lot of gold in his pen, and it's yours if you just smile. So it was very disrespectful. But with the license to Case Logic, I dealt with Jamie Temple, who was the CEO of the company. And he was a lovely man. He understood the power of a solid designed product, how he could put it into his distribution and instantly generate bottom line dollars. I didn't have to touch a thing. I just sat back and got my mailbox money once a quarter. It was lovely.
Let me ask you something. How did the whole Power Rangers thing come about?
Well, after I sold the company, the chalk company, to Bandai, they bought it because they had had a product that had done well in Japan, but they had never had a retail product be successful in the US market. They were OEM manufacturers, so they did massive manufacturing for most of the other toy companies, but they had never had their own product that they had brought to market. And they had developed the Power Rangers in Japan. It was a big success there. So their thinking was if they could buy a company with complete distribution, which we had, they could force the Power Rangers into that grid and drive a success. So we did that, and there was a 6-person team, and it was Toy Fair 1991. We launched Power Rangers to the trade to very negative feedback. The buyers didn't like the size of the action figures. They didn't like the packaging. They didn't like anything about it. But the kids loved it. It had those campy television shows, half-hour shows that had voiceovers. You could see the mouths not even matching the words coming out. It was so campy, and it caught on like crazy. And within 14 months, they had sold $1 billion of Power Rangers. So not the buyers don't always know everything. They think they do, and many of them are very, very good, but they all missed this one. It was a huge hit in spite of itself.
Wow, that's amazing, amazing. Have you had, obviously, all entrepreneurs have this as well. Have you had items that or journeys that haven't worked out so well?
Oh, of course, of course. If you didn't have a failure, you haven't really tried. I have probably, Tony, brought more than 100 products to market. I own a number of patents. Yes, I have had products that I believe in. One was a wonderful product called Quick Check-In, and this was back, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think it was before the World Trade Centers were bombed. Right at that time, you had a lot of requirements to go through airport security. They didn't even have TSA yet at that point. So we developed a folio, a vinyl folio, and when you opened it, on one side was your driver's license, your passport, and on the other side was your boarding pass or your airplane ticket. Back then it was all paper goods yet. So all you had to do was walk up to the agent, we called it a quick check-in, open your quick check-in, everything they needed was there. They could scan it, close it, and off you would go. That filled a need, but it never was a commercial success at all. And I think one of the lessons you learn there is to be very mindful of your product development expenses, because not everything becomes a commercial success. You sometimes have to know when to stop, take a few steps back and say, let's do something else. Fortunately, I have a very creative mind, so there's always about 10 products spinning around in there.
No, that's great. And the fact that you've been able to pivot and iterate so successfully and have those takeaways from the failures. What I really interested me the most was, tell us about on your personal side, the health issues that you had and what you've learned from that experience.
I will, and that'll lead me into something else I want to share with your audience, Tony. As you can imagine, I'm a type A and I burn a pretty big candle. I get up very early. I wish I could sleep later sometimes, but that's not in my DNA. I get up very early. I burn a long day. I always have. I have enough energy for 5 people in my body. And when I was, probably 20 years ago, I was traveling around the world nonstop, helping different countries and companies in foreign countries bring their products into the US. I worked in Canada many times, 2 years in Montreal, loved the people in that beautiful province. Worked in Cambridge, England, worked in China, worked in Germany, all over the world. I've worked so many places. And your body takes a toll. And I think it's an important lesson for entrepreneurs to never forget that if your body isn't working well, nothing else matters. Mm-hmm. So I was going 100 miles an hour, abusing my body, not sleeping enough, not eating healthy, drinking way too much diet soda. And one day my life came screeching to a halt. I had developed a MRSA staph infection in the lowest part of my spine. And for those of you who don't know, MRSA is like staph on steroids. It's oftentimes fatal. It is very hard to cure. And I spent the next 6 months of my life fighting for my life. And it was the battle of my lifetime. I had 6 surgeries. I had final rites twice. I had to learn to walk again. And I'm so thrilled to say that everything works. It was a horrendous 6 months.
Yeah.
But while I was laying in this hospital bed, wondering if I was going to live or die, and at some points I didn't care which because so little of my body was functional, mm-hmm. It made me think about germs and why did this happen to me? Because I'm a very clean person, but I think a lot of it was my body was under too much stress and I was probably too depleted. But I had contracted the staph infection, and I thought, this is nuts. Here we are. We're in the greatest country in the world with every medical marvel known to mankind available, and they can't stop this raging staph infection. So once I did get better, and thank God I did, it was truly a blessing. The next entrepreneurial opportunity I had was to work with a chemical company out of the Carolinas. This chemist had created organosilane, which is a molecule that extends the clean on a clean surface. Right. So with him, I got my PhD in germology, and I really learned how germs multiply, how they talk to one another, how hard a germ tries not to let us kill it, even though we're giving it our best. And through that process, I learned so much. Joe, the chemist, ended up selling his company for a large amount of money and retired. And I left the company at that point. My consultancy with the company ended. Mm-hmm. So I stopped and paused and thought, I like what I've learned, but I want to kill germs without using chemicals. What's the natural way to kill germs? So that quest took me back into the research, just like when I founded Chalk. I wanted to go learn what's the why behind why we have this particular situation or this issue. Well, it took me back to the Greeks, the Romans, and the Egyptians. They all used copper to kill germs. So then fast forward, I started doing research in how copper could kill germs. It is one of two metals that kills germs. The other is silver. Silver has to be wet to kill germs. Copper kills wet or dry. So that spawned the beginning of my current company called Staywell Copper, or Staywell Products, and our product is Staywell Copper. We manufacture antimicrobial, medical grade copper that you put on the things you touch all the time. We carry 80% of our germs on our hands. So what do we touch 2,716 times a day? Our cell phones. Mm-hmm. So we make cell phone patches that go on the back of your phone. While you are talking, texting, touching, you are killing the germs on your hands. And your phone is near your eyes, your nose, your mouth, the warm, moist points where germs enter your body. So this is a phenomenal product. We also have it for the back of iPads, Kindles, other electronic devices. We make a roller. This roller is our other very favorite product. You can roll it between your hands, kill the germs, wear it as a necklace. I have it on my car keys. So that made me crazy about germs, and I just knew there had to be an all-natural, chemical-free way to kill germs. And the great thing is, these products will kill germs forever. They never need to be replaced. They never stop killing germs. So no more hand sanitizer bottles in our landfills.
That's amazing. You know, I have to admit, I've actually sold copper products over the years, but I didn't really know the science behind it. You know what I mean? Like, we've sold copper pillows and pillowcases, but I really didn't know what the medical benefit was, and you've really educated.
Well, and I do want to tell you, Tony, and your listeners, all copper is not created the same. Mm-hmm. This is 99.94% medical grade antimicrobial copper, made in America, mined and refined here, and ours is all recycled. We don't want to damage the earth. But the reason I bring that up, a lot of the fibers, the wearables that have copper in them have less than 1% copper. It's kind of people jumping on that bandwagon. And something else I'll show you. This happens to be my pencil case on my desk. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful copper. It's a Moscow Mule mug. It will never, ever tarnish. See how shiny it is?
Yeah.
The manufacturer coated it with lacquer. The minute they put lacquer on it, it will never again kill a germ. They sealed in copper's germ-killing power. So it looks great, but it doesn't kill germs. My patch on my phone isn't quite so shiny because I use it and it has no lacquer. To kill germs, it has to be pure uncoated copper.
Let me ask you this. Are the other products made in the USA as well?
Yes, all of our products are made in the US.
And
And we use, right now we have 7 US veterans manufacturing our products.
that's an amazing story. But I was wondering if you've ever, you have so much business experience, especially in the premium category. Have you ever encountered this where your pricing would be a lot more expensive than you were saying stuff that could come from offshore with a small amount of copper, and then you've got the process of really educating people that, hey, we've got all these extra benefits. And for online especially, it's hard to always rank what they call on page one for Amazon and all that, because we can never be cheap enough.
It is such an ugly struggle. And I had the same thing way back in my sidewalk chalk days. Everybody wanted cheaper, 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 which is what led me to open factories in China. And Tony, when I started making Staywell copper, I still have all my Chinese connections.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to China to see if they could make my products there and give me a cost advantage.
Yeah.
Guess what I found out? Their copper is not like our copper, and I want nothing to do with Chinese manufactured copper. They don't alloy it the same. It's not finished the same. It is not the quality I want. When I tell people, use this and it will help you stay healthy, I want them to have what I know will help them stay healthy. So yeah, there's a big push to be cheaper, 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 but sometimes you get what you pay for. This is American made, American certified, EPA registered. I don't want to mess around with the junk coming out of China. So yeah, I've had a lot of experience bringing product in from overseas. And at one point when I was selling chalk, one of our large customers wanted me opening factories in India to get cheaper pricing than I had in China. I said, no, I've survived the filth in China. Those factories back then were the filthiest things you can imagine.
Wow.
I saw the human rights violations with my own eyes. I saw young girls on lines with doing sonic welding. Sonic welding will weld like a character-shaped plastic head on a bubble pipe to blow bubbles with. They're using sonic welding, and those girls had no ear protection. They're all deaf by now if they're still alive. I saw how China rapes the earth. They don't do the replanting and reforesting that we do here. I'm not interested in made in China at all.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. But the thing is, because we carry, for example, a line of premium made Canadian made products. And we've been dealing with this for years where those type of things don't really require as much certification textiles and other, unlike children's toys or health products. And in fact, last year we actually did a big investigation in conjunction with the Wall Street Journal, where we were able to do a big takedown of one of the biggest counterfeiters on Amazon. And they had approximately almost $20 million worth of high quality bedding. It was all fake. And this is the thing that really got to us. Well, we did the testing and it wasn't cheap. And we went to Amazon, nothing was done. But only when the Wall Street Journal gets involved and they do the same testing and get the even worse results than we did. And then when they go to Amazon, does any action happen? And I think those are the things that we entrepreneurs kind of face.
You hit the nail on the head, and that you do have to just continue to fight it. Our products, we are now brand registered on Amazon, so we don't have that counterfeiting issue on Amazon. We still have massive counterfeiting issues on eBay. We own US patents on the product I showed you, and eBay will not honor our patent. They tell us we have to get a court injunction before they'll take down the counterfeiters. And I'm in a fight with them right now. I'm like, wait a minute, I have a legal US patent. I'm not required to have take a court case to enforce my patent.
Yeah.
So it's still a big, hard challenge, and there's so many people that want to take a good idea, steal it, knock it off, make some cheap junk, and pretend like it's yours. It's a huge problem, and you just have to fight it every week, every day, every week. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
We do need more protections around intellectual property rights and the rights of the inventors that can prove I was the first one to market, but right now it is such the Amazon marketplace is such a brutal marketplace for vendors. I don't think the people who love having their doorbells ring 25 minutes after they order a product and it's delivered, and of course I made that up, but they like that easy next day service, but they don't know what vendors on the backside are fighting to give them quality product in a price conscious way that still leaves a little bit of a bottom line so you can continue to grow your company.
What is like sort of like, I guess you're older school like me, you know what I mean? I come from the bricks and mortar world where we had a chain of retail stores. And what is the learning curve for you when you're switching to D2C? You know what I mean? Especially when it was Amazon kind of ruling, being the big elephant at the party.
Well, you know, it's been a huge learning curve, Tony. I started selling Walmart when they had 66 stores. That's how long ago I was selling retail. And it was a challenging. Anytime you deal with the big companies, it's challenging. But I like the old days because I had a buyer that I met with. We would build a rapport. He knew he could trust me. I knew he had my back. I knew if I performed, they would protect me. There's none of that with Amazon. And in fact, years and years ago, Tony, I was doing a trade show, the Western States Toy and Hobby Show in Anaheim, California. It's been gone for years. And I heard two old men, they're probably our ages now, two old men standing there, and they were complaining about this newfangled technology, this thing called a fax machine. And they had to get a fax machine, and they weren't going to. They wanted their orders in triplicate, one for the buyer, one for them, and one for the manufacturer's rep, and they weren't going to change. And I'm young, and I'm just thinking, well, if they want me to get a fax machine to get their orders, I guess I'll get one. And I had a thought go through my head as I'm watching these two old men, and I'm thinking, Marcia, don't ever stop learning. And let me tell you, learning all this e-commerce for a grandmother, I'm a grandmother of 5 now. This is stretching me. In fact, last night I was on a clubhouse. I was in a clubhouse room, and my grandchildren called me and they said, Gramps, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm actually in a clubhouse call. And they said, you're what? And I thought, huh, I know something my grandkids don't know because they're so tech savvy. And then my one grandson, Luke, said, well, Grandma, there's a consumer version of Clubhouse. I think he called it Dispirited or something like that. I've been using that all year. So it was really wonderful to see that. Old dogs can learn new tricks, but I do have a hard time. I have to work a lot harder. Again, thank heavens I learned that on the farm. I have to work a lot harder to learn technology. It's not innate to me. In fact, just this afternoon, at 2:00, I'm having my Yahoo email that I've had since the sidewalk chalk days when we first got emails. I'm having that migrated into a Google account. So I'm going to finally be.
Oh my God, you still have
My project manager's like, Marcia, you have to get on Google. You have to. You're making us crazy because it's so much more work when you're not on Google. So I'm actually doing that today, and I drug my feet because just a bunch more stuff I have to learn, and I got. The way things work now works so well for me, but it doesn't work for my team. So I'm going to become a Googleite today. So to your question, Tony, as fast as the world is changing, oh my gosh, I can't learn it all fast enough. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. I don't have time for all of that. I have team members who are, but I think now the rate of knowledge that we are expected to know to be real time, on time, ahead of time vendors does make it really challenging for us.
How big is your team?
We have designers in California, and our videographer, photographer, cinematographer is in California. Our graphic artist is there, our brand specialist, our social media, and then our head of retail sales, her group's out of Minneapolis. product design, warehouse fulfillments, all here in Arizona.
Wow.
So
So do you do it all in-house or do you outsource?
all in-house right now.
Hmm.
Well, that's not quite true. We do outsource our Amazon. We have an expert group that just handles Amazon for us because they are juggernauts and they are very, very difficult. And we don't have anyone in-house there. So we do outsource our Amazon um, babysitting.
Well,
And
honestly,
a nasty baby. Oh,
no, no. When I first got into Amazon, the first thing it is I read a book on Jeff Bezos, and the first thing I learned was he loves to eat octopus for breakfast.
say that again.
He loves to eat octopus for breakfast.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
I thought that was interesting. You know what? I can really talk for hours, but because but I like to keep our podcast kind of short because people don't have all day. But I do have one final question. And what's your initial impressions of Clubhouse? Because I had the best experience the other day where I went into a room with only 3 people. And instead of going to those rooms with 800 people, I mean, it was really, you don't know what you're gonna get, and it was amazing. I met a 17-year-old teenager who's doing 50,000 a month on Shopify.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, wow, I'm not even doing 50,000 a month Shopify, and that's great. And we're actually going to be networking and getting ideas. And I'm thinking that's really the power of this new technology. What are your thoughts?
Very much the same. I've only been on Clubhouse a week or so. I've only participated in 2 rooms. I didn't even know how to mute the microphone. I need to take some YouTube classes and really learn more so I'm smarter about it. I don't always know when to get into a room or what rooms I want to get into. I don't have all that set up yet. But the one room I was in last night was on monetizing Clubhouse. And as a product manufacturer, I don't yet know how to monetize it because I can't just get on there and say, hey, go to my website and buy my copper, buy my copper. That's going to turn everybody off. But they all have germs on their phones and they're all talking from their phones, so they should. So I am anxious to learn more about it. I did go on and buy 2 domain names that end with the .club,
Yeah.
because I do think though we will probably in our company be using a room, and now we'll have our own name with our .club extension. I think the jury's out. I love that I can reach out and talk to people I might not otherwise be able to get feedback from. But so far, it is such a drain of time. And time is the one thing that I cherish at my age, especially, but particularly in my evening time. That's my husband time. And I don't want to be on Clubhouse when I can spend time with my husband. So I'm struggling on how do I balance the time that my days are full. Um, I don't know quite how to fit it in, other than maybe when I do my daily walk, because I do walk every day, I'll just listen to or get involved in a room at that time. But I think the knowledge base there is amazing. The reach to get to people you want to get to is incredible. The networking, like you say, Tony, is fabulous. It's just a huge time drain.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you know what? I guess the early adopters hopefully will be rewarded. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
for me, I had to turn it off for a little while. I was just getting too much information overload.
Have you had any issues yet, Tony, with people that you've heard on Clubhouse who like the sound of their voice perhaps better than they like the information they were sharing?
Well, there was a bit of an issue, I think, 2 days ago with this guy named JT. I don't know if you heard, where he was sort of, he's a big investor in a lot of the rooms, and he was sort of locked out of one of his rooms.
Oh,
And there was a lot of drama because how quickly the crowd kind of turns. I saw, like, you know what I mean? Where he's trying to do that Simon Cowell kind of tell you the truth kind of thing, and it can become kind of abrasive at times,
yeah.
right?
On my first one that I was on, I heard someone giving some advice that I very much would not agree with, but I didn't want to correct them or contradict them because it was their room. But they were giving some advice that I certainly hope people didn't take to heart, but I don't have that ability to say that. And
Yeah.
you can say whatever you want, and there's no one there to hold you accountable. I happen to like the Facebook groups that you and I have been in together, where you can actually type in questions in the comments, and so that you can have that um, ebb and flow as comments are happening. With Clubhouse, you have to wait until it's your turn, which is polite and okay. But if there's something that you know is happening that you maybe could impact, it's a little bit more difficult to.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right now, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. It's still changing, it's adapting, and
I
I'm
think it's here to stay, though. It's growing like crazy.
yeah, it is. Their marketing is phenomenal. I mean, really creating the buzz around it where everybody is, asking me right now, do you have invite? Do you have invite? You know, and I don't know if you saw that Norm one time, if you mentioned he went on and he got one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think I got my invite from Norm as well.
well, did
He
you?
is so generous and such a
Oh,
fun guy to be involved with.
yeah. No, he's awesome. Literally, he's helped transform my business. But he mentioned something right at the end, which is interesting too. The problem with Clubhouse and stuff, and a lot of things is when the experts are giving everything away for free, it's hard to create paid content. Then you have to be so much better because everything out there is free, right?
How do you see it working for someone like my company where we sell products? I have a lot of information, but that's not, I want people to buy my products.
I think you really want to come through from the health angle, right?
Pardon?
You want to approach it from the health angle.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And if like I was telling you earlier, we've sold copper products and we didn't even know what the science behind it was. And that's, I think you want to create rooms because that's where the dynamic, organic reach of them is. There's political groups. My favorite groups are the fitness and health groups.
Oh,
Literally, I started drinking 2 gallons of water every day because the doctor was talking about it. And the people were weighing in. Those groups were way more fascinating to me than even the business groups.
well, that's really good knowledge because you know, Tony, with this on my phone, my husband and I have not had colds for 45 months. We've been cold free. Just think 4 years and I haven't had a cold. And you know, when you have a cold, you feel crappy for a week and it's just such a pleasure. And we have 200 people in our focus groups from all walks of life, doctors, nurses, pilots, stewardesses, preschool, daycare, nursing home, and 200 people have been cold free for 29 months. That's pretty amazing when you can keep that many people free from colds. Just with something so simple, just the thing you touch every day.
Hold on one second. So I want to thank everybody for Marcy for coming on the website. What's the best way to contact you?
Info at staywellcopper.com or Marcia, Marcia, at staywellcopper.com. And I'll do whatever I can to answer your questions.